We're going to be starting our humorous contest. Okay. Our contest Toastmaster was a 76 years old woman who won last year's humorous speech contest. She had only been in Toastmasters for a year, but her club and her mentor made her feel young again and helped her achieve a huge award and made her feel very confident. At 76 years old, or 77 years old, pardon me, she is doing the role of a contest Toastmaster for the first time. Margaret knows a thing about age defying and where you have to push yourself without any issues. So please help me welcome our contest Toastmaster for the Humorous Speech Contest, Margaret Cho.
Thank you. Like she said, I was 76. So if you know your math, that means I am what? 77. So last year I celebrated my birthday by joining the Toastmaster. Just a few months, not a year, just a few months. My mentor, Rebecca, and all the members of my club, they twist my arm. Look at that. So anyway, then last year, Sandy helped me. She saw me shaking like this. She said, Margaret, just walk on the stage and feel it. The stage is yours. So I beat her. Now, are you curious how I celebrate my 77th birthday? Yeah, I know you would. I went all the way to New Zealand and jumped off a 130 feet bridge. Wow. Are you crazy? You mean you bungee jumped? Are you have a midlife crisis? Oh, no. Not midlife. Senior life crisis. No, it's not that. The reason, you see, I love freebies. The minute I found out that you can actually bungee jump for free if you are either 10 years or under or 70 or older. Otherwise, you have to spend $200 for that. Of course I jumped. I said, sure, why not? Besides earning bragging rights for my grandkids. You know, they asked me, do you have fake hair? No, they are gray. Do you have false teeth? No, they are yellowish. Then the most embarrassing question, are you pregnant? Are you kidding? You didn't even check my ID when I told you I was 70. I thought you were going to say, oh, you look so young. Let me check your ID. No, I was so disappointed. But on the other hand, I thought, oh, no problem, because it must be my super honest, good-looking face. They say, are you pregnant? I said, look, you must be kidding. I know I am a little bit on the chubbier side, but I am not that fluffy. Besides, my name is Margaret. My name is not Sarah, and my husband's name is not Abraham. Then you might say, well, I am never going to bungee jump. But think about it. In a way, the minute you join the Toastmaster, you are in the mood of virtual bungee jump. Don't you think so? You get up to the high, then you plump in, right? And every time you give a speech, the next one, you get higher, right? So anyway, today we are going to celebrate all these people who are going to have their virtual jump. I cannot even pronounce that. All right, now, okay, let's have our rules and regulations. First of all, the bathroom. I think you all have figured out where's the bathroom, right? Where the long lines are. Anyway, over that corner. Okay, now the next thing is, I know you all have brought your love of your heart, right? But don't look at next to you. It's not him, nor her. It is smartphone. I know that's your love, but silence it. Keep it quiet for the next 2 hours. Would you? All right. I know you want to take pictures of me too, but don't take any flash photography. Just wait until everything is all finished. Would you? Then, how about the timers? Would you please tell us the rules?
Madam Toastmaster, the timing rules for the humorous speech contest are as follows. Humorous speech contest shall be from 5 to 7 minutes. A contestant will be disqualified if the speech is less than 4 minutes 30 seconds or more than 7 minutes 30 seconds. A green signal will be displayed at 5 minutes and remain displayed for 1 minute. A yellow signal will be displayed at 6 minutes and remain displayed for 1 minute. A red signal will be displayed at 7 minutes and will remain on until the conclusion of the speech.
Very good. Thank you. How about Madam Chief Judge, wherever you are? Madam Chief Judge, okay. Have all the important people been briefed?
Yes, Ms. Toastmaster. But the
Thank you.
contest-
Very good. Okay. I am going to butcher all the names of all these contestants. If you hear anything sort of similar to your name, anyway, then you know, okay? John Landerfeld, Suck, Verk, Anchor, Couture, Sharon Rose, Shamlak, Jeff Brown, Yavischa, spell it, Josh Kesang. Let me repeat so I can butcher the names again. John Landerfeld, Suck, Verk, Anchor, Couture, Sharon Rose, Samalek, Jeff Brown, Yavicha, Spashik, Josh Kesang. I hope you don't want me to read a third time. Am I okay? All right. So let's welcome our very first speaker, John Landerfeld. The Petty White Story. The Petty White Story. John Landerfeld.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters, guests. I'm going to start with a disclaimer. If you're squeamish, I suggest you leave now. If you're at the least squeamish, I think you should leave now. My story began in high school. Now, I wasn't the virile, self-confident, kind of handsome, dashing guy you see before you now. I was awkward socially. It was hard for me to talk to people. I was 6'2" and weighed 130 pounds, pretty skinny. But I had a desire to talk to Patty White, and I'll get to Patty White a little more later. But she didn't know I existed. But I had to make up my mind that I was going to talk to her. And so, on a late autumn day, late November, it was a beautiful day, crisp, sun was out, brilliant sun, sky was just the bluest dome over you, crisp leaves, and that's when I decided that I was going to talk to Patty White. And it didn't hurt that I was looking particularly fetching on that day. I had my earth shoes. Oh, by the way, this was some years ago. I had the bell bottoms that were huge, Levi's, the flag embroidered across the butt, the cowboy shirt, the hair that went on forever and was falling perfectly into place on that day. And I just knew this was the day. This was the day. I looked like I just stepped off an Allman Brothers album. So as you can do it. So I went into the smoking area. Remember those? High school had smoking areas back in those days. And it was packed and it was crowded. But I was steeling myself and getting ready because I knew she would be coming. And lo and behold, you could see when she started to enter the smoking area. She parted the crowd like a wedge. All Farrah Fawcett blonde hair flying, a kind of a halo, gauzy halo all around her. And sweetness exuded from every person who looked at her, who saw her, from her. And she got closer, and she got closer. And it was getting ready, and it was getting ready. And she got in front of me, and we started talking. And I was beside myself. It was going well. We were talking. We were exchanging. She would talk. I would talk. It would go back and forth, just like it's supposed to. And I thought, oh, this is going well. I'm going to ask her out. I'm going to even do it. And so I said, hey, would you like to go to a Doobie Brothers concert with me? And she said, oh, look at you, all forward and everything now. And it was cute, and it was sweet. And I wanted to make her know that it was funny. And so I started to let, but now, oh, there's one thing I haven't told you. I was just getting over the biggest head cold anybody ever had. And so when I laughed and exhaled, the biggest snot bubble ever emerged from my head. It was bigger than my head, and it was wagging, and the sun was glistening off of it, and there were colors and veins, and it was translucent, and I could see through it. Her face was just a horror, and everybody in the entire smoking area was leaning back, and I didn't know what to do, and the seconds lasted hours, and they went on, and I just knew that this was hard. I don't know what. I didn't know what to do. So I went, and it disappeared, clean as a whistle, like it had never been there. But it had been there. And my face was on fire. Embarrassment so deep I spun around and I left, and I never spoke to Patty White again, and I didn't even go back to school. That was it. So life goes on, and in a month I was in the Marine Corps, and I was gone away, and life went on. And things eventually got better. I mean, I eventually met a woman who even the idealized version of Patty White couldn't even hold a candle to. And I had children, And I became somewhat philosophical about it, but, you know, it was always there. It was just there. It was just a regret. And so I saw my sister. I went to see my sister and had no idea, and this was just a few years ago. I saw my sister was friends with Patty White, and Patty White was at her house. And we talked. I held my breath for a few minutes. I made sure my Kleenex was in my pocket. But we talked, and it was good, and she let me go. That's the way I look at it. She said nothing. Now, it could have been her perspective of it had changed. It could have been that maybe her perception was not as horrible as mine. But I think that what I got out of it was that you can trust people. People grow. People learn. But the biggest thing I got out of all of that was that there's so many more things to be embarrassed about in this world. Bad choices, talking to people. That those are not those things that happen like giant snot bubbles. Those are things you can't help, and you can deal with them. The biggest thing I got out of all of it was simply to be kinder to yourself. Thank you.
One minute of silence so the judges can do their thing. All right, 1 minute's up. But before I introduce the second speaker, could all the humorous speech contestants come over the other side so you can be mic'd up? Get ready to come up to the stage. All the contestants, would you please go over there? The pretty young lady over there, get mic'd up. They are missing a couple. All the contestants, would you please go over there? Are we all good now? Oh, they cannot hear me. They cannot hear me. My voice too low. Our next speaker, Suck Work. How to tie a turban. How to tie a turban. Suck work.
Today, we're going on a grand journey, a deep dive into the mystery to understand the keys to your very greatness. Today, we will understand how to tie the turban. Okay, I can't keep that up this whole time. I was actually born and raised nearby here in Bellevue, Washington. My name is Sukhneet Singh Virk, and like each and every one of you, I put on my pants one leg at a time. Mrs. Toastmaster, Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, today we're going to understand how to tie a turban. This is a three-stage process, starting with selecting the right material, choosing the style that suits you best, and wrapping up with the wrap itself. Starting with the material, it's important to recognize that we've seen an explosion in technology, from artificial intelligence to self-driving cars, even reusable rockets that can take us to Mars and back. And in the same way, we've seen an explosion in turban tying technology. The turban originally was created out of cotton because that allowed it to be available to the widest range of people, which let it be a democratic tool, kind of like how the Electoral College lets us select our favorite president. You can choose from silk, from wool, even the effervescent full vow. Let's say that together. Full, vow. That was great. I expect by the end of this, half of you to walk out of here with an Indian accent. You really want to select the right material. The material that as you're walking down the street says, hey, look at me. Once you've selected the right material, you want to choose the style that suits you best. Now, the turban was often worn into battle by Sikhs with chain mail and knives tucked into the many layers. These days, we fight a different type of battle, one that takes place during rush hour on I-5 and I-405. There are many styles available, but I go more with the battle type style because if somebody is driving like a jerk, I want them to know I'm more than willing to cut them off. Once you selected the style that suits you best, you are ready for the wrap. Now, this is a complicated process, so we're going to simplify it down to 3 steps. The first is the placement of the cloth. Second is the wrap itself. And third is the tuck. When you place the cloth, you want to place it in a position that's just right. You'll know it's just right when you feel this vibrational energy flowing through your body and bursting forth from your chest. That's your body recognizing the greatness you've placed on your head. Then we go into step 2, where we'll take the cloth for the wrap, bring it around, and cross up to the top. Then we'll take the cloth, bring it back around, and crisscross right back down. You'll notice this crisscross pattern in my own turban. Now, they say that the layers of a man's turban indicates how many battles he's won. Well, you shouldn't believe everything that you hear. Then we move straight into step 3, which is, you got it, the tuck. We'll take this magnificent, gregarious cloth and tuck it deep down into the many folds of your turban. You've now completed your very own crown. Ladies, you know what they say about a man with a nice tuck. Now that you've completed your own crown, you are ready for Instagram fame. I can see the hashtags now. Hashtag, I didn't wake up like this. Hashtag, wraps on wraps on wraps. Hashtag, I got 99 problems, but a tuck ain't one. When we tie our own crown, we remind ourselves why we wear it in the first place. The turban was a gift given to us to remind us that we are sovereigns of our own destiny. We determine the future that we want to create and build that together. Now that you know how to adorn your metaphorical crown, I hope to see crowns everywhere. I'm talking about your wife, your boyfriend, the Little League baseball team down the street, even the Uber driver that drove you here today. I'm talking about people adorning their crown, realizing their dreams, and creating their very own greatness, just like each and every one of you. Okay, we've gotten to know each other a little bit over these past 5 to 7 minutes, and I feel like I can trust you guys. The thing is, I haven't been entirely honest. The truth of the matter is I barely know how to speak English. That might have been the greatest speech you've ever seen, but it wasn't me. It was all my turban. But today is your lucky day. We have a special shipment of turbans outside, delivered direct from India, Dubai. This is special today. Normally very expensive, but we have a Toastmaster special. You vote for me, the winner, and then you get the turbans, you can have the greatness, you can build a better future, and all be happy together. Deal? Deal. Miss Toastmaster.
Thank you, Jack. 1 minute of silence so the judge can mark their marks. One minute's up. Our next speaker, Anchor Kator. I hate you, Toastmasters, but I won't give up. I hate you, Toastmasters, but I won't give up. Kator.
Let me clarify. I hate Toastmasters, but I won't give up. Contest chair, dear judges, once upon a time, I was a great listener. I could listen to presentations, speeches, keep my calm, and focus on what the speaker had to say. Not anymore. Every aspect of Toastmaster has taken a toll on my life. For instance, when President Obama gave his 44-minute long farewell speech, the whole nation was in tears. Me, I had 12 arms, 10 so's, and 5 you know. When my manager called me to give me feedback on how I need to focus on my work, you know what he said? 8 so's and 6 arms. And my wife, when she gave me a big lecture on how I'm not listening to her anymore, can you believe her? She had 18 arms. My life's biggest embarrassments have been around Toastmaster. I was a joke master once, and then I finished my joke. Exactly. Silence! Absolute silence! Do you know how humiliating it is to tell your audience that the joke is over? And then, when they laugh, you know it's not the joke they're laughing at. I hate you, Toastmasters, but I won't give up. Then I tried table topics. Well, congratulations. As per the latest research that I just made up, table topics have made to the top 10 causes of elevated blood pressure and stress. I am exhibiting a number of side effects of doing table topics. Every time I'm near a table, my blood pressure goes up. The same bad speech runs over and over in my head. My wife has even indicated increase in my alcohol intake. And I have felt immense increase in hatred towards other people, especially the table topic masters. And don't get me started on the topic themselves. I once got a topic. What's your favorite coat and why? With eyes staring and clock ticking, my mind went blank. I froze. I was thinking to myself, is that a coat with the C or with the Q? And after 2 minutes of deafening silence, I took a small step toward the podium, and in my shaking voice I said, one small step for Toastmaster, one giant leap for public speaking. I hate you Toastmasters, but I won't give up. But then came the final nail in the coffin. About 2 months ago, my wife gave me a big lecture on how irrational I have been behaving. So just like any other loving, caring husband would have done, after she finished, I gave her an evaluation. I said, your timing was off, you had a bunch of filler words, and you need a better conclusion. I even used the sandwich method. I praised her on how she kept the speech engaging by asking me questions all through. Questions like, what the hell is wrong with you? What are you thinking? She didn't say anything that day. 7 days later, there was a letter in the mailbox. A letter, my friends, no husband would ever dream of receiving. The letter said that my wife has joined the Toastmaster Club. That day changed everything. Few days later, I stepped out of my house for a quick 5-minute chat. I said to my wife, I'll be back in 5 minutes. Now, after a few hours when I got back, she was at the door. She claimed herself as Sergeant at Arms and did not let me in. It didn't stop there. I started getting table topics every day. Why do you love me? Do you think you are doing all the responsibilities of a father? Why can't my mom come and stay with us? And I get evaluated on all my responses. Yesterday, I was talking with my parents on phone, and she, after 5 minutes, after six, when I hung up, I didn't want to be disqualified. They say leaders are made at Toastmasters. Well, leaders are like diamonds who have to survive tremendous pressure before they can sparkle. And I am going to survive this pressure. I know you are going to survive your pressure. You all have sacrificed something to be here. So let's promise to each other to continue taking these small steps, because once a wise man said, one small step for Toastmaster, one giant leap for public speaking. I hate you Toastmasters. Join me here and say with me, but I won't give up.
Thank you, Anchor. 1 minute of silence so the judge can do their parts. One minute is up. Our next speaker, Sharon Rose Shamala. From the audience, I need a hand. From the audience, I need a hand. Sharon Rose Shamla.
In 2014, I was living just outside of Detroit, Michigan. In August of 2014, I was on vacation in Seattle, Washington. It was the last night of my vacation, and I decided to attend an improv show at a little place just by the gum wall in Pikes Market. It was the last performance of the night, and as this male-female duo was preparing, the man is off in the corner, working on setting everything up, and his female counterpart came to the front of the stage and she said, "From the audience, I need a hand with an awkward first date story." I raised my hand. When she called on me, this is what I told her. I went to college at Eastern Michigan University, and while there, I was an RA. One of my residents really wanted me to meet her cousin. I told her it was too weird, it shouldn't happen. She introduced us anyway. After a few weeks of chatting on AOL Instant Messenger and friending each other on MySpace, he finally decided to ask me on a real date. Little chat memo comes up and says, "Are you free on Friday night to go to a pirate-themed restaurant named Seva?" A little skeptical, pulled up a new window. Pirate-themed restaurant, Seva? Seva is not a pirate-themed restaurant. It is actually just an upscale vegan restaurant in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I clicked back over. Picked me up at 6:30. Said something about being swashbuckling and went about my day. The week went by. I didn't really think much of it. Friday came. I got dressed. I put on a little polka dot skirt, a cute top, some ballet shoes, checked my hair and makeup once, maybe twice more, and was promptly in the lobby of the hall at 6:30. This little black sports car rolled up to the curb, and I thought, nice, it's a cute car. The door opened, and I really quickly had to school my face because he was a pirate. He was wearing women's dress capris that he had distressed to be more pirate appropriate. He had on a striped t-shirt, a silk bandana around his head. He had a fake earring, some gold chains, and had even gone so far as to have his roommate draw a fake anchor tattoo on his arm. I said, why not? Let's do this. So I let him walk me around to the passenger side. He opens the door, I got in the car, and we drove the 20 minutes to Ann Arbor. We parked in a parking garage, and as we walked through the streets of Ann Arbor to the restaurant, we garnered more than a couple odd looks. We got into the restaurant, and the hostess tried really hard not to laugh aloud and totally failed. She took him by the arm with a grin on her face and walked us to the back of the restaurant, around to the other seating section, before seating us where everyone could see the pirate and his date. We ordered, the food was great. We talked about really deep things, you know, the stuff you talk about in college, school, movies, that kind of stuff. And soon enough, the check came. He takes the check, sets it down on the table, reaches for his pocket, pats his pocket, reaches to the other side, pats that pocket, and got this really panicked look on his face. And he looked at me and said, "I forgot my wallet." Feminist that I am, I reached into my pocket, grabbed my wallet, said, "Don't worry, I've got dinner." And he froze like a deer in the headlights. He looked at me and the wallet and the check, and then at me and the check, and then he ran out of the restaurant. He left. I was sitting there going, seriously? seriously? Did he just dine and ditch me? Did he drive me 20 minutes away from my home and leave me here? How do you call a taxi? There was no smartphone or Uber or anything like that, and if I bought dinner, did I have enough money for a taxi? I wasn't quite sure. So I was sitting there just about ready to panic. Let's go back to 2014 at the improv show. Because from the audience, she needed a hand, and I sure as hell had an awkward first date story to tell her. So they finished up telling her this story. Her smile got a little wider. She got a little saunter to her step, some swagger as she's repeating back the details. As I told her that eventually the pirate came back. But what I didn't tell you was that that improv show, that vacation, was actually my honeymoon. And the person sitting next to me was my pirate. You know, he came back, we went on a few more dates, and things seemed to go well. So 7-ish years later, we finally got married. And we were sitting there on the last night of our honeymoon at this beautiful bookend moment of the beginning of a new part of our relationship, about ready to watch two comedians act out probably what is the most awkward first date I've ever heard of, on stage for the public to enjoy. So the next time you think that you're having an awkward first date, take a minute, feel into it, and just go on the date with the pirate, because it might just work out into a fantastic relationship and marriage. Fellow Toastmasters.
Thank you for sharing those. 1 minute of silence to give our judges the time to mark their ballots. One minute is up. Our next speaker, Jeff Brown. Just a little taxi ride. Just a little taxi ride. Jeff Brown.
Brown, wake up. Oh, I got a hangover. Leave me alone. It's my day off. Harrison Brown, front and center. Oh, yes, Chief. Brown, do you know how to repair that new navigational system, the ARQ-59? Oh, AR-59. Repair. I do. I do. Two small little words, when you put them together in a very small sentence, have gotten more sailors into more trouble standing in front of an altar after a wild night of drinking than anything else known. But I wasn't standing in front of an altar. I was on Midway Island. This was the Vietnam War, and I have just been voluntold to fly out to the USS Ranger, an aircraft carrier steaming to the South China Sea. 4 hours after an intensive training course that could be boiled down into a very simple sentence of, Brown, don't touch anything in the cockpit, I find myself seated in the back seat of an F-4 Phantom jet. Yes, an F-4. Oh. Immediately, the right side of my brain comes to the only reasonable explanation. I'm a fighter pilot now. I've had my 4 hours of training. Don't touch anything. But I'm a fighter pilot. the left side of my brain comes to a little bit more logical explanation. You don't have a clue what you're doing here, do you, or what you got yourself in for? No matter. As we begin taxiing out to the runway, I'm given an opportunity to reflect on those words that are stenciled on the side of the plane. Lieutenant Bart Knievel Davidson. Knievel, as in evil. No matter. We get out to the edge of the runway, and suddenly, the euphoria of the situation is overcome by the reality of the moment. Oh, my head hurts. Oh, Lieutenant, do you have any aspirin up there? Before he could answer, all of a sudden the radio crackles to life. It's my buddy Smitty up in the tower. Lieutenant, he's got a hangover. He's been drinking all night. This maniacal laughter emanating from the front of the plane cannot be a good omen for about ready to happen. As I sit back in the chair a little bit, I'm nudged as the plane starts to taxi on down, and I think to myself, it's just a little taxi ride, not to worry. Within seconds, my butt starts vibrating violently. I hear this tremendous roar from behind me. I'm thrown back into the chair, and I'm pointed straight up in the ceiling. Suddenly, I got blue sky in front of me. This maniac has decided to turn on the afterburners, pull back the stick, and we're going vertical. 1,000, 2,000 feet. I'm watching dials spinning wildly in front of my eyes. 3,000, 4,000 feet. My head is splitting open like a coconut on Gilligan's Island. 5,000, 6,000 feet. This is not a Pan American flight with a 747. 7,000, 8,000 feet. When is this lunatic going to level off? What could I do? What would you do? How could anybody react in that situation? After what seemed like an eternity, when in reality was only 15 seconds, we reached 10,000 feet. Whereupon Beelzebub's brother in front of me decides to level this flight of the Valkyrie off. I begin to regain my composure, and the very first thing I think of is I must have left some bodily parts back on Midway. That's all there is to it. But I'm greeted with a beautiful scene. The ocean. The beautiful blue ocean. White puffy clouds hanging magically from the sky. Oh, it's gorgeous. And then I look off into the distance, and I look over Lucifer's shoulders, and I see this little dot. Lieutenant, is that a Russian trawler? No, Brown, that's the Ranger. That's where we're going. The Ranger? No, the Ranger is big. I've seen the Ranger. It's in San Diego. It was on Coronado Island. It's half the size of the island. This thing is, well, rather inadequate. As we start getting closer and closer, indeed, it starts to turn into a little bit of an aircraft carrier. It's gray now, and I can start to make it out. The right side of my brain comes to another conclusion that almost makes sense. Yes, we are going to have the ride of our life coming into this thing. And the left side of my brain, it looks at it a little bit differently. I really hope you brought some clean underwear for this trip. As we get closer and closer, old Lucifer up there, he's doing his thing. And we're starting to buck a little bit. Now, I'm not a pilot, but I had my training. I watched movies. I watched those old war movies. I know what those things are. There's two dials that are really important in an aircraft. Altimeter and airspeed. And both of these are reaching zero really fast. And I'm getting kind of worried about what's happening next on this thing. And as we're getting closer and closer, I'm seeing the back of that aircraft carrier getting larger and larger as I remembered it from San Diego. And now I'm watching the altimeter get lower and lower. As we get closer and closer, suddenly the left side of my brain comes out and says, do you really have a clue what's going to be happening? You're going to perish here. The right side of my brain, we are on an absolute roller coaster that's phenomenal. We're going to love this. Yes, and we're doing this for free. As we get closer, I can start to see the cables. Everything is starting to come clear. As I get closer and closer, I'm grabbing. Oh my God, we're getting closer, we're slowing down. I can feel that tail hook drop. Woo. Suddenly we get closer, bam! You've landed. And I've come within millimeters of what I wasn't supposed to touch because no one told me to cinch the harness. Again, I start to regain my composure. And as the canopy starts to open, the deck people are running around, and this deck officer runs up, throws me a hat. Congratulations, Brown. You are the first petty officer to land on the USS Ranger in an F-4. I'm somebody now. At that moment, the left side of my brain leaps into action and says, I hope you brought clean underwear for the return trip. Now.
Thank you, Jeff. 1 minute of silence to give the judge time to mark their ballots. One minute is up. Our next speaker, Yavisha Spasic. Moscow. Yavisha Spasic.
Welcome to my voyage to Moscow. What a beautiful city. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and dear guests, you don't need to be good in geography to understand my speech. Although, I'm pretty sure most of you already know that Moscow is the capital of Russia. Yes, Moscow is the capital of Russia. As we all know, there are so many good things coming from Russia. What Moscow City has to do with my speech? Absolutely nothing. However, word Moscow hides the acronym MSCW that stands for must do, should do, could do, and would do if you have time left. Moscow is the revolutionary prioritizing strategy that can organize your life. Moscow can improve your performance. Moscow can excel your business. Moscow can improve your relationships. Moscow can make your kids obedient and excellent students. Basically, Moscow can improve quality of your life. Don't we all want that? Yes, we do. Moscow strategy is very simple. Step number 1, categorize your tasks. Step number 2, execute them in the right order. First, you categorize your tasks. Second, you put them in the right list. Must list, should list, could list, would list. Then you execute them in the right order. This is the right order from must to would. This is the wrong order from would to must. Never do this way. If you keep doing these things in the wrong order, your must list will pile up and soon you will feel overwhelmed.
Oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore. It's so much homework.
Is this familiar to you? I tried to explain Moscow strategy to my son. Father, can you give me some examples of must list? Okay, my son. You have to sleep, you have to drink water, you have to eat, you have to go to the bathroom. If you don't do these things, there will be great consequences. You will be parched, you could starve to death, or you will have to walk like this. You want it? Yes, Father, I understand what you mean. Okay, tell me now what is the should list. Listen, my son. You should wash your dishes every morning. But if you're getting late for school, forget about dishes and go to school right away. You must go to school on time. However, you still have to wash your dishes in the evening. Then your should list becomes your must list. Does that make sense? Yes, Father, that makes sense. And now, what is could list? Let me see. You could clean up your room, or you can throw garbage out. If you keep procrastinating these things, eventually they will move in your should and must list, and you must do it. Does that make sense? Yes, Father, that makes sense. Okay, and now, what is would list? Would list is your fun list of things that you like to do, like playing basketball, playing chess, talking to your friends on the phone, watching movies, but you cannot do would list before you complete must, should, and could list. Do you understand that? Do you understand that? Is this the rule in your house? Yes, that is the rule in my house, because I don't like chaos in my house. Do you like chaos in your house? Of course not. You are smart people. Every morning when we wake up, we face the biggest dilemma of the day. To get up or to give up. Getting up is very first task on our daily must list, and we must do it. Now I will show you 2 secret ways how to get up easily. Serbian way. When I was a little boy, I heard this story about brave student. Brave student. As soon as he wakes up, he splashes his chest in the cold water. He jumps in the air a few times and starts to march like a soldier to grow up and get stronger. How was that? What? You are still not convinced that this is going to work? Okay. If for any reason Serbian way doesn't work, you can try Russian way with the song Kalinka. This song has the power to stop the Cold War and will get you out of the bed. Feel free to clap as I sing. Kalinka, Kalinka moja, siadu jagoda malinka, malinka moja. Kalinka, Kalinka, Kalinka moja, siadu jagoda malinka, malinka moja. Kalinka, Kalinka, Kalinka moja, siadu jagoda malinka, malinka moja. Kalinka, Kalinka, Kalinka moja, siadu jagoda malinka moja. Спасибо. Thank you. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, what is on your must list today? Remember, always do your must list first. Be done and have fun. Thank you. Now,
minute of silence so the judges can mark their ballots. One minute is up. Our next speaker, Josh Kaysen. Courage. Courage. Josh Kaysen.
This is my wife's typical reaction to vermin in our house. If you ever met my 6'2" wife, the kind of powerful woman who would marry a Marine like myself, you would never suspect that she's scared of anything. However, she is. My wife is scared of creepy crawlies. For those of you new to this terminology, a creepy crawly is anything that slides, slithers, or scurries. This includes reptiles and rodents and bugs. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and honored guests, can I get a show of hands if your significant other is here with you today? Great, go ahead and keep those hands up. If your significant other has a phobia that's ridiculous. Nobody? So I'm the only one sleeping on the couch tonight. Great, thanks. My wife is always scared of insects and reptiles and rodents. However, there was one day in the summer of 2005 when my wife showed me true courage. I was at work. I received a phone call. Hello? Whoa! Baby, calm down, I can't understand you. What's going on? Honey, calm down. I began to worry. What was going on? Was the house on fire? Was something wrong with our child? Did I leave the toilet seat up again? After a few moments, I think that my wife realized that the only animals on earth that could hear her were dogs. Her speech slowed down, and I was able to make out the following. Lizard in house. I thought to myself, why is this a big deal? And I thought for a moment, maybe I should make fun of my wife. Hey, I'm kind of smart sometimes. I kept that to myself, because I don't want her to point out my stupid phobias, like my fear of the gym. My wife insisted that I come home immediately to deal with this gigantic, ferocious Komodo dragon-sized lizard which had broken in and was terrorizing my family. I'll remind you now like I reminded her then. I was a Marine, not a dragon-slaying knight. Like many mothers who are faced with life-threatening situations, she gained the courage of 12 men. my wife's voice became calm. And she said, "Okay, I've got this," and hung up the phone. As I put mine on the receiver, I had this vision of my wife running in slow motion, like an action movie, dragging my son, whipping in the wind behind her. Behind that, our house, covered in flames, explosions going off. She's got it. I went back to work. A few hours later, my shift was done, and I headed home. As I got there, I flung open the living room door, expecting to see my wife and my kids in the living room, like usual. However, it was completely quiet. There's pillows out of place, and I knocked over a chair. And I thought to myself, wow, this must have really been a giant lizard. Out of concern, I hollered down the hall, "Babe!" I heard a muffled response from the far door. I walked down, opened it. It was difficult. I pushed hard. When it gave way, I realized there was a rolled up towel on the bottom and a clothes hamper propped against the door. There, sitting on the bed, was my beautiful wife and our 1-year-old son. "Are you okay?" "Is it dead?" "Is what dead?" "The lizard!" I had completely forgotten that my wife had faced off against her nemesis, the Lizard King. I don't know, where is it? In the living room, on the windowsill. I'll go take a look. As I rounded the corner to the living room, there it was, on the windowsill. This transparent Tupperware bowl, upside down, on a gelatinous blob. I picked it up, and this poor, tiny little lizard looked like an insect encased in amber. You see, in my wife's moment of bravery, she covered that lizard with an entire bottle of extra old hair gel, slammed a Tupperware container on top of it, and barricaded her and my child in our bedroom. To this day, I think of that story when I think of courage. The reason why, I've served in the Marine Corps, and I've seen some brave acts. However, my wife, she's not invincible, and she's not fearless. However, she handled that lizard. Now, we can all admit that we've got some phobias in here, right? Maybe you're scared of public speaking, and that's why you're at Toastmasters. Maybe you're scared of clowns. Maybe you're scared of the government. Maybe you're scared of the clowns in the government. Regardless, we all have phobias. However, just like my wife, we all have the ability to overcome those fears, to take them on, and to show them who the real owner is. So the next time you find yourself face to face with your fear, remember this story. And remember that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the ability to turn a tiny lizard into a translucent paperweight, even in the face of fear.
Thank you, Josh. Now, 2 minutes silence, or maybe longer, whenever all the ballots are collected. All right. Now let's welcome all the 7 contestants for the humorous speech. And come up in the order of your speech. Now you get to be grilled by me. The first one, second one, third one. John.
Yes.
I understand you have 5 kids.
Yes.
Even they're not kids anymore.
They're not.
I know I'm not pregnant, so I'm not going to have any more kids. But can you please tell me some secrets how to raise grandchildren?
Thank you. Actually, it came to me a little late that I was much better at grandparenting than parenting and should have skipped that middle step and gone directly to that. Yeah, that's the secret, is to say as little as you can to your children so that you can save it all up for your grandchildren. They're the ones who listen, at least for the time being.
Thank you. Can you tell us which club you are from and what time and when do they meet?
I am from Southwest Downtown Trash Talkers. We meet the first and third Thursday of the month, 12-ish to about 1.
Thank you. Let's take a picture, right? Or do we supposed to take a picture? No? Oh, gee, I thought I was going to have a picture taken. Whew. Suck. Right? Sook. Well, you see, I got to butcher something. Anyway, I understand that you are a very, very good writer. Would you please tell us what have you been written?
Wrote some process documents for businesses. But also write a blog and in there explore how to solve problems in our own lives so we can solve bigger problems in our communities and wider.
Thank you. Tell us your club's name and when and where you guys meet.
It is Downtown Bellevue Toastmasters in Downtown Bellevue at the Keller Williams Building, Tuesdays at 12 p.m.
Thank you very much. Sook, here. Anchor, your famous inspiration is failure. Would you please tell us why failure is your biggest inspiration?
I have had my fair part of success as well as failures, but as I do retrospection of my life, there were more times when I climbed out of failure with more momentum, with more determination, and rather than being in a celebratory mode, I was standing strong and just with a lot of focus to climb off that failure. So essentially failure is the best motivation for me.
Thank you. Now tell us, which club are you representing and when and where you guys meet?
It's we guys. I'm part of Bauer Speak Easies. We meet every Friday at noon in Redmond.
Thank you, Anchor. Sherry Rose, I understand you are a fantastic reader. Tell us the latest book that you have read and what's the major content within 1 minute.
Do I get a timer? No. The most recent book I read, I finished yesterday. It's called The Good Daughter by Karen Slaughter. It's a standalone novel that is told from the perspective of two sisters who witnessed their mom being murdered right in front of them, and how that kind of perpetuated through their life and impacted how they grew up with their father.
Thank you, Sharon Rose. Now tell us about your club. Where and when you girls or guys meet?
Thank you. I'm part of Wallingford 252. We meet in Wallingford at the corner of 45th and Stoneway at the Blue Star Cafe at noon to 1 o'clock every Wednesday.
Thank you, Sharon Rose. Jack Brown. Tell us, you have some very good accomplishments. Tell us the biggest one.
As my club knows, I'm not too sure if I need this because I usually speak pretty loud. Within Toastmasters, my biggest accomplishment, which I was blessed in District 55, I was given the Club President's Award in 2014 and 15. And that was right when my wife Lori and I moved to California, or here to the Seattle area. And to me, it spoke volumes because the club I was in really adored me. The district I was in really loved me. I had done competitions and I'd been involved. It was really a great thing. And to me, that was the pinnacle of my Toastmasters accomplishments.
Thank you. Yeah. Yogisa, I understand you love cooking.
Yes, I do.
Can you tell us some good, simple, and delicious Russian cooking?
No Russian cooking. I'm originally from Serbia, but everyone tell me when I tell them I'm from Serbia, oh, Siberia, it must be so cold over there. Have you seen any Siberian tigers over there? Oh yes, I saw lots of them in Toronto Zoo. But my cooking is Serbian. I really love Serbian cuisine, and we have some really nice meals, lots of salad, lots of meat, variety, and I'm willing to share that with you. Stop by and we can talk more about it.
Wow, thank you. All of us are invited, right? Okay, tell us about your club and where and when you guys meet.
I don't know what is the name of my club. Because we just merged two clubs into one, Nord IT and Raconteurs, and we are deciding how our new club is going to be called. But I also feel that I represent two clubs, three clubs actually, Wind Talkers as well, which was my first club, and now I joined the other two clubs. So we're just compressing into one before we expand. We meet in Central League building on Thursdays at noon, 25C room. Come and join us anytime. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you, Yogisa. Josh, since you did not give me your whatever you call that. Anyway, let me ask you, what is the most courageous thing that you have done in Marine Corps?
When I was in the Marines, I served in Iraq from January of 2003 until September of 2003. I was a helicopter crew chief on the CH-46 Sea Knights. Did casualty evacuations and troop drop-offs and stuff. It's probably the most courageous thing that I did while I was in.
Thank you. Now tell us which club you belong to and also when and where you meet.
So I belong to the Confidence Builders in Mill Creek. We meet at Brookdale on Tuesday nights from 6:30 to 8.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. we got everything all collected. You mean I'm going to be kicked out? Oh, no, Molly. I love the stage. I want to stay here longer.
This lady is truly inspirational. Please give her another round of applause to Margaret. Margaret, thank you so much. So we do have the results of both contests, but before we get to that, we have a couple of announcements, or I have a couple of announcements. Now this conference, this fabulous conference wouldn't happen without the work of a conference chair. And I want to thank Jenny Martin for putting in many hours of seamless, tireless work to putting on this incredible conference. Jenny Martin, please. Jenny wants to give a little bit of thanks to her team.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Molly. We have been meeting every Wednesday night, Molly and I and Eric and several other people, but since July. So now we have to find something else to do on Wednesday nights, Molly. But I think I can find a club to go to. So first of all, I would like to thank one of the people that's been in it since July, working with us, and that is Eric Vaughn. Eric, can you come down and... So, Eric has been the co-marketing chair. Thank you. And he has been making sure that the word gets out and doing your name tags, you name it. Eric's been doing it. So, thank you so much, Eric. Sharare is the other co-marketing chair. Sharare, are you here? Okay. The program, do you all like the program today? Isn't the program gorgeous? Well, Sharare was in charge of doing that program. She decided to do something totally different, and I think it turned out great. So thank you for all your help, Sharare, and going to contests and promoting the conference. So, thank you. Thank you. And Gloria Point. Gloria was our education chair, and she was in charge of selecting all the speakers and making sure that they knew exactly what was going on. So thank you so much for all your work, Gloria. Our registration went on so perfectly this morning. Eden was there at 6:30 getting everything ready. So I'd like to thank Eden Mahoney for leading the registration team. Thank you so much, Evie. Thank you. There's a lot of people involved in this. I wanted to just make sure that you all knew there's so many people that worked to put this on. Jolene, are you nearby? Jolene worked as a co-facilities chair. And she was here again at 6:30 this morning, making sure that we had everything set up and all the rooms and everything taken care of. Thank you so much, Jolene. Rebecca Murray. Rebecca Murray is the co-facilitation chair and the co-tech chair. Without her, all of the details and putting everything together the logistics wouldn't have happened as smoothly. So thank you so much, Rebecca. Working with Rebecca as the co-tech facilitator, the co-tech chair, was Jeff Copeland. Is Jeff Copeland? Thank you so much. And we've all been having regular meetings, so it's not just, these people have not just been doing it today, we've been meeting for quite some time. Tracy Niemeyer is one of those people that's been involved for quite a long time. And she is the finance chair, so she's been making sure that we stay on track with our expenses and our budget. Thank you so much, Tracy. And we have a few more people to thank. We have our credentials chair, Jackie Bailey. Jackie Bailey, thank you so much for being here and taking care of everything we need to take care of for the credentials for the business meeting. Look at this whole team. Isn't this amazing? And these are just the chairs. There's more people that worked with the chairs. So thank you. Maria and Roxy. Maria and Roxy were the co-hospitality chairs. So do you like the nice table decorations? Aren't they wonderful? They got here early, they planned it all out, and they did this for you. So do we have Maria and Roxy? Team. Thank you to their whole team, too. So, Roxy, thank you. Thank you. Okay, and we're almost done here, guys. Thank you for your patience. But all of these people have put so much work in, I could not recognize them. So, Bruce Meeker, he was in charge of making sure we adhere to protocol, and he kept us on track with that. So appreciate all of his help with the protocol. Thank you. All right. And then, last but not least, I have one here for Catherine. Thank you so much for being a part of the leadership of the district and supporting this happening and helping us out all along. So thank you so much. And then we have our district program quality director, Molly George. She has been working tirelessly on this whole thing. Last but not least, I swear to God this is the last bag. It almost didn't fit in my car, is our district director, Omar Rivas. And so, when I suggested this theme to Omar, which is a little different kind of theme, you know, the vulnerability is sexy, because I got it from Corey, he's like, sure, release the Kraken, go for it. So his vision and his support right from the beginning, really appreciate it. Thank you. So thank you to everyone here.
Okay, you can exit. You may exit. I will. Announce the winners here for Table Topics. I also want to have a big thank you to Richard Ripley here, who has donated his time to do all the photography here for the conference, and I think he's taken some hundreds and hundreds of photos, I believe, which he will be posting or helping to post on our 460. Okay, so big, huge thank you to Richard for doing this. And now we are getting to the results of the Table Topics contest, and I'm going to pass this on over to Catherine, who's going to be doing all the awards here.
Thank you, Molly. I think I'm more nervous than the contestants were. It's been such a fun day getting everything ready. Molly did a tremendous job with the conference. Jenny, thank you for everything that you did. We have awards now, and we're going to get right to it. Third place winner in the Table Topics contest, Sarah Wyatt. I missed that photo op. Second place, Christine Klimkowski. See, I'm getting better at the photo thing. This is hard work. You thought the speech contest was hard. First place, Table Topics, Fall 2017, Joseph Carty. Okay, everybody up now. Another photo. Thank you all so much. Excellent contest. Congratulations. Good job. Now, to announce the Humorous Speech Contest winners, Molly George.
All right. Drum roll, please, for third place winner of the Humorous Speech Contest, Sharon Rose Samalak. A bigger drum roll for our second place winner for Humorous Speech Contest, Ankur Katur. All right, I want to hear a thunderous roar for our Humorous Speech Contest for 2017. Sukhpreet Garg.
anyone who can write. Awesome. Thank you.